Liveline on RTE Radio 1 with Kia. Discover our 2-to-1 offers at your local Kia dealer. For more, log on to kia.com.
1850 715 815.
Hello, good afternoon, and you're very welcome to Liveline. And Joe at RTE.ie. A horrific incident yesterday hasn't been reported as of yet. It is being reported now, thanks to Adam, who's contacted Liveline. What time did this horror story begin at yesterday, Adam?
Hey, Joe. Around 4:45.
Okay, you got on a bus. Was it a Dublin bus or Bus Air? And I don't want the number, obviously, but
Bus Air.
Bus Air, and so was it one of the big, brand new €300,000 Bus Air and buses?
No, it wasn't the brand new one, Joe.
Okay, but it was a double decker, so.
Yeah.
Okay, so what happened?
Well, basically got on the bus as normal, and carried on my journey, and I was betting to my phone as you do be on the bus, and I looked up and I was like, right, why are we here? And I realised that the bus driver had gone past the turn.
He was going the wrong way. Was it a he?
Yeah. Yeah, it was a he. Yeah.
Okay, so he's going the wrong way. Okay, what happened next?
He done a U-turn and he headed back in the direction where he could turn back into the right way.
Sorry, Adam, for cutting across. But a U-turn, do you mean he went to a roundabout and turned around, or he stopped on the road, reversed? A three-point turn.
He stopped at a well-known place and done a 3-point turn.
Okay.
And carried on to correct his turn, if you get me.
Pretty difficult job to do, a 3-point turn in a double-decker bus. But anyway, so he's now going backwards, so to speak.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then at that point I went down and I just said, is everything okay? And he goes, yeah, I just missed the turn.
Okay.
I said, fine, that happens.
Yeah.
So went back upstairs and he went through the next roundabout.
What do you mean? What do you mean through?
He didn't do the U-turn that would have been possible.
He didn't go round the roundabout?
No, he went straight through and
he went across the roundabout?
Yeah. No, not like up onto the roundabout.
Yeah.
He just carried on straight rather than doing a turn around.
Okay, understand. Okay, which you're supposed to do. That's what I did.
And I was upstairs. I heard somebody say something to him downstairs. At the next roundabout, he done the turn and headed back down. And I said, I was like, to the route or, something like that. Then at another well-known premises, he continued on through a red light, and that's when there's something not right here.
So he's gone the wrong way. You said to him, you spotted it. You said to him, which way are you going? And he said, no, I'm going around. I missed the turn. He then did a 3-point turn on obviously I presume a busy road, but he did a 3-point turn successfully. He then headed back. He drove across a roundabout rather than around the roundabout. He's then drove across.
He didn't. He didn't drive across the roundabout up onto the grass verge. He went straight at the roundabout rather than take the turn.
Oh, okay.
He did.
Okay.
He didn't go up onto the roundabout.
So is he still going in the wrong way on the route?
No, he had corrected it. And then had broken the red light.
So he sailed through a red light?
Yeah, pretty much so, yeah.
So how many passengers on the bus?
I suppose there would have been about 10 upstairs, and it was a good few downstairs. It wasn't full.
And do you think others noticed that he'd been going the wrong way, gone across?
No, he did. They did. We joked upstairs, saying, he must have had a few or whatever. But we were joking,
Okay.
And then when he went through the red light, I said, right. So I rang the emergency number that they have on their website. and I was put on hold. So eventually I got talking to a guy who explained what, like, said, right, I'm just going to put you on hold again and I'm going to find out more about this. So in the meantime, we were now in the city centre. And before actually that happened, strangely, the bus plunged into darkness.
Okay.
It went totally dark, black.
Yeah.
And this would have been about, at this stage, 5:45 at night.
Right. Pitch black, yeah, these days.
So it went dark.
But why was he? Why was he? Was going into the city centre his route?
Yeah.
Okay. So he's now heading for the city centre. The lights go off on the bus. Is that intermittently or only once or twice?
I think it was 3 or 4 times.
Okay.
And I was upstairs still. I heard somebody say, "Please knock on the lights on the bus."
Yeah,
and
of course,
they went on then. So I'm on hold, and he comes up a well-known street and knocks the wing mirror off a bus that was pulled in picking up passengers.
So that's he crashed into another bus.
Yeah.
And he whacked off the wing mirror.
Yeah. The wing mirror was on the ground.
Okay.
So
what are you now thinking?
I was thinking what we were joking about was kind of true then.
But were you not thinking of trying to get off the bus?
Oh yeah, but the passengers went downstairs. I was still on hold, and when I went downstairs on the bus driver was off us talking to the other busman
that he had crashed into when taking his wing mirror off.
Yeah.
And by the way, when he took this happens the best of drivers, but it's normally on very, very narrow streets, or there's cars parked on either side, and you're squeezing. Was it on a narrow street that he hit the other bus?
No.
It was a wide street.
Yeah. It would be a well-known street to the bus driver.
Okay.
Any bus driver, regardless of route.
Okay, so it was a major road into Dublin.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, you all. By the way, you're nowhere near your final destination at this stage, are you?
About 10 minutes away from it.
Okay, but walking.
Yeah.
I presume. So you get off the bus. You go downstairs. Is everyone getting off the bus at this stage?
Everyone got off the bus. There was no announcement made or anything like that.
Okay.
He didn't address passengers or. He didn't check to see if people were okay. He just got off the bus and spoke to the driver of the other bus, which was a Dublin bus.
Okay, so this is a bus Éireann bus crashes into a Dublin bus after going through a red light, after going the wrong way, after doing a U-turn or a 3-point turn on a busy road, after going the wrong way again, and then he hits another bus. The lights have gone off 2 or 3 times on the bus, frightening experience in the meantime. And then he hits another bus and then he stops.
Yeah.
Okay. So you go downstairs. This is not your stop, by the way. You weren't due to get off at this stop, were you?
No.
Okay. So you all go downstairs and get off. And what happens?
He's basically talking to the other bus driver. I was still on hold to Bus Éireann themselves.
To the emergency number.
Yeah, and then the guy got back to me. He says, "Are you still there? Are you moving?" And I says, "No." I said, "In the time that it's taken for you to get back to me, he's crashed the bus."
And the person on the other end of the emergency line said?
Well, what I suggest you do now is email customer.
Run.
Well, yeah, that as well. But he said to email customer care and make it come.
He's nearly gone through. He's nearly killed you. He's gone through red lights, gone the wrong way, done a 3-point turn at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the evening, the busiest time of the day traffic wise. Then made a bit of a mess of going back in. Then turned off the lights 3 times. Then hit a bus on a wide road.
Basically, yeah.
And then he got off the bus. Obviously, not at the terminus. The passengers all went downstairs, and you all just stepped off the bus and meekly disappeared?
Yeah. He people just dispersed, and a couple got onto another bus that was pulled in, a Dublin bus, and I take it just headed off into town then.
Okay. And were people shook or were they laughing?
Nobody was laughing.
Yeah, I thought, sorry, it was okay. Take that point.
You know, at first it was kind of funny.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because he just missed a turn.
Which can happen to the best of drivers.
Look, that can happen to anybody.
And I think any bus driver in Dublin that has to go through Dublin, especially now with these new, the double-deckers are the double-deckers and they take a lot of people, Dublin Bus One, but the National Transport Authority in all their wisdom have now bought these high-end luxury single-decker buses, which are the size of double-deckers. And some of them have double back wheels, and you can see them. They've only one way into the city centre. That's around Clare Street. It's madness trying to get around. It must be a horrific job trying to negotiate those streets. So it is difficult. So he missed a turn. That's understandable. But what happened next was okay. So. And all you were told to do was, even though you said he crashed a red light, which is illegal and dangerous. Now maybe there was a mechanical fault on the bus. In fairness to the chap, he crashed into another bus on a wide road, and the customer's care emergency line said, "Would you send us an email?"
Basically, that's why. No, not basically. That's
what he said.
Factually, what he said. Yeah.
And did he say? Give us your location.
No.
Okay, stay there for a sec, Adam, if you can. I know you're in a hurry. Grace and Wicklow, what happened to you yesterday?
Hi, Joe. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Another traffic incident. And the reason I'm phoning is because it's like that, the response I got from the company when I called them. I was driving on the M11 in towards town yesterday morning about 8:30.
The N11 is where? Where's that?
The M11 coming in from Wicklow towards Dublin.
Yeah.
And luckily the roads were quiet, which is unusual at that time.
Yeah.
So I was driving along in the right-hand lane, and there was a HGV up ahead on the inside lane.
Okay.
And just in the blink of an eye, there was like a missile flying midair towards me. A piece of wood had come off the side of the vehicle.
And when you say a piece of wood, do you mean a plank or do you mean part of the structure of the truck?
No, a plank.
Okay.
It was all split-second stuff, so I couldn't understand where it had come from, what had happened. But I knew I had to slow my vehicle down, otherwise it was going to cause something serious.
All right.
So I slammed on my brakes, but I knew I had to kind of pulse brake, because I'm travelling at speed as well. Mm-hmm. So luckily, I looked in my rearview mirror, and thank God there was nobody coming behind, because at the speed all this happened, if there'd been anybody, or the roads had been busy, somebody would have come into my rear end. So anyway, managed to stop. I didn't know if it was going to hit my car. Or
of course. It's the most frightening thing. One of the most frightening things that can happen to you on a motorway, especially. Trucks are travelling. They're all within the speed limit, I'm sure, as you were. But if a plank flies off a truck, it's a missile.
Exactly. It was midair. And had I not managed to stop, it would have come in through my windscreen, I'm sure. Yeah. Had I hit it, it probably would have bounced off somewhere else. God knows. Anyway, all the scenarios you can conjure up are just awful. So anyway, I managed to move over the piece of wood safely, carried on, overtook the HGV and looked and saw on the right-hand side there were about 6 of these planks unsecured.
Okay.
I couldn't even... It was like they were sitting on a shelf on the side of the trailer. Mm-hmm. So I beeped your man, carried on. I was on my way to a business appointment. When I got a chance later in the morning, I just thought I really should do something about this because, you know, I'm an experienced driver. I'm on the road every day to work. But if it had been a new driver, if it had been an elderly person, God forbid, a motorcycle that it had hit. If you'd yanked your steering wheel, you could have flipped over your own car. Oh, I know. Or somebody would be like, it was so unusual that there wasn't a stream of traffic behind me at that time in the morning.
Okay, so you caught up on the truck.
Gave him a beep. I don't know if he even saw what happened. I'd no idea. So I carried on, got the name of the transport company on the cab.
Well done.
Unfortunately, didn't get the reg. It was all too quick for that.
Well, the transfer, a lot of those companies welcome feedback. Some of them have numbers on the back. How's my driving numbers, please? Ring.
Well, this is why I'm phoning the Joe Duffy show for the first time in my life. Because, I mean, I've seen things on the road before and I haven't really taken the time to follow them up. But this was could have been so potentially serious or fatal. I phoned the company, I asked to speak to a fleet manager, got through to somebody, explained what had happened. I said, I presume you'll investigate the incident. And he said, well, we've 80 trucks on the road every day. And I said, well, surely you can't have that many on the M11 at 8:30 in the morning. And he said, well, there would have been about 8 this morning. And I was talking, I just said how dangerous it was and it didn't appear to be secured, the load at the side. He described the piece of wood for me exactly. He said, so it was a plank of wood about 2 metres long, 3 inches in depth. And I said, yes. And he said, well, I don't mean to be flippant, but if that's the worst thing that happens today, it'll be a good day for us.
What? Now, hang on a minute. You're driving on a motorway. One of the busiest motorways in the country at the best of times. You were lucky. It wasn't all that busy. Other motors were lucky, not you. A truck is driving and a part of the freight on the truck, part of the load, not the actual structure of the truck, which can happen, I'm sure, to the best.
Well, what was unusual, Joe, is that it was an enclosed trailer, most of the HGVs are. But when I drove past, it was like at the bottom, there was like a ledge with these planks sitting on it. But the freight manager obviously knew what I was talking about because he described it completely. And
the freight manager of this company, you're adamant, Grace, he said to you, if that's the worst thing that happened to you today, you'll be fine.
No, he said, if that's the worst thing that happens today, it will be a good day for us.
Oh, it'll be a good day for us?
Yeah. And I said, so you're not concerned about what could have happened to motorists? Are you not aware of how serious an accident this could have caused? And anyway, so look, that went nowhere. And then later on, I phoned the traffic line, for reporting incidents. So went through it all, and it was taken seriously. But then at the end of all that, I was told that because I didn't have the registration of the vehicle, there's nothing that could probably be done.
But all those vehicles have tachographs. You could give the exact location and the exact time.
And I didn't have the reg. I'm sure there's cameras. I suppose my point, Joe, I was so really disgusted with the response from the company, but also in terms of the lack of ability on the Garda's part to follow up. I'm not saying it's anything to do with them. I'm obviously talking about their workload procedures. But, there's cameras all over the place. Surely it can be investigated. And God forbid, had it been a fatal accident, there would be an investigation. The cameras would be looked at. So why leave it until it's too late?
And he also said we've 80 vehicles on the road any given day.
Yeah. So that's my story, Joe.
And by the way, did he say anything about the shortage of truck drivers, or everyone's under pressure?
No. Literally, he just wasn't taking my concern seriously. Okay. Had he even said, "Oh dear, I'm very sorry, we'll look into it," I wouldn't be on the phone to you now.
Yeah.
But anyway, Joe, listen, I don't mean to be rude, but I'm on my way.
I understand, that's why I went to you. Grace,
you're very good.
Yeah, man, mind yourself, and thanks for taking the time.
Bye-bye.
That's Grace in County Wicklow. Wendy, your
Hi, Joe.
Your daughter was on the runaway bus.
She was on the runaway bus, yeah.
And when did she tell you this?
So she told me last night, she was texting me to say she doesn't know whether she's going to get live, and I'm in a bit of a drama.
Wendy, hang on, I'll try and get a better line after this break. Joe at RT.ie.
Talk to Joe on 1850 715 815. Talk to Joe on 1850 715 815.
And Joe at RT.ie. There was a bus incident last night coming into Dublin city centre, which we now know about thanks to Adam, who's contacted us. The bus driver was going the wrong way. First of all, Adam pointed that out to him. He said I've taken a wrong turn. Then he did a 3-point turn in the middle of a busy. We should actually give the names of these roads, whatever. But a busy road coming into Dublin. He then took another incorrect way of going. Then he sailed through a red light. Then the lights start going on and off on the bus. Then the bus came around into a wide stretch of road, a very wide stretch of road, according to Adam. And I think I know where he's talking about. And it promptly crashed into another bus, taking its wing mirror off. And that occasion, the bus stopped. The passengers have been going down to him. Adam, meanwhile, is onto the Dublin Bus Éireann emergency line. But they just told him to email a complaint. In the meantime, everyone, I think, was fearful. According to Adam, they were fearful. Wendy, good afternoon. Your daughter was on the bus. Was she worried, Wendy?
She was terribly worried. What happened was she came from where she was sitting and she ran up to the bus driver to tell him that did he know he was going the wrong way.
Okay.
And then she said he was a little bit kind of dazed. She actually said to him, "Are you okay?"
Okay.
She actually thought he was taking a stroke.
Oh, God.
Or something. She said he was a little bit, yeah. And then he started to back up when she was telling him the right way to go. And then she said, "This is a bit dangerous." She said, backing up into that road, a big bus.
Oh, he reversed. Okay.
Yeah, he reversed. Yeah, he reversed into a certain road.
Okay.
And then she was showing him what way to go. She sat right up behind him. Then the lights went off at the back. Then somebody started laughing, probably thinking it was Halloween on the back of the bus because the bus went black. And he goes, "You need to switch the lights on." At this stage, she was getting really panicky. She actually saw her life flying before her. She just got panicked. Yeah. And she said, "Will you switch the lights back on?"
Okay.
He didn't switch them on straight away. So she asked him again, "You need to switch the lights back on." Then the tears came down because she said, "You're driving really dangerous. Are you okay? Are you unwell?"
Yeah. And what did he say? Do we know?
Yeah. She said he wasn't talking too much. He was just saying, yeah. And that's why she thought maybe he was ill, because she kept saying, "Are you sick?
Yeah.
Is there something wrong?"
Fair play to her. And what did he say? "I'm not sick."
He said, I'm not sick. No, I'm not unwell." And she said, "Well, and then he started to kind of jig the bus, like juddering back and forth as he was driving. She was driving a little bit manic, and that's why she said she kept she remained sitting up the front or standing up the front, whatever she was. But all the time she was coming back and forth to me to saying, "I need to do something." And that's when I actually got on to Dublin Bus, because I couldn't get through to Bus Éireann, couldn't get through to anyone on Dublin Bus. A friend of mine is a bus driver, so I called him and asked him what I would do.
Okay.
And he said, "You need to call emergency services now," because he could kill everybody.
Yeah.
But at this stage, he had flown through a red light, I think, in Finglas. And then further down, he crashed into another bus, took the wing mirror off, and that's when she thought he's definitely either unwell or something. She said she's never had a bus journey like it, and I had to go in and pick her up and down last night after everything.
And how was she?
Very shaken up, actually.
Of course,
very shaken up. Yeah, extremely shaken up. She said she's never experienced anything like it. She thought the man was unwell,
Okay, that'd be terrible. But but if you're unwell, you'd know to stop the bus, wouldn't you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. But unwell could be in several different meanings and ways. Do you know what I'm saying? So
was she was on the mobile phone to you as this was happening, Wendy? Is that what you're saying?
No, she was WhatsApping me saying, "I think I've got a crazy bus driver." And I go, "Why? What's going on? What's somebody saying to you?" And she said, "No, it's what he's doing. He's driving like a crazy. He's going up the wrong roads." And she was telling him, "No, you need to go straight back up there and drive around the roundabout. That this goes on the motorway, not on this dual carriageway." So she knew then when he was going the wrong way, when he took off the wrong turn, and she was telling him where to go, and then proceeded all the way. But anyway, she got off, I think, in near town. But it would, needless to say, it was a journey from hell, she said.
And Wendy, did she get off and the same time, do you think? I know she wouldn't have known Adam or other caller, but did she get off at the same time as everyone got off?
No, she didn't. She said a man came down to him, which was probably Adam. She said a man went down only when he was getting off now. She said she was the only one that went to the front. Everybody else, because, I don't know, maybe they didn't know that he was going the wrong way, but she was very aware.
And it sounds like your daughter Wendy thought he was having a stroke or something, because she kept saying to him, "Are you unwell? Are you okay?
Yeah.
Can we help? Can we?"
That's exactly what she was saying. The reason being, like, she'd be a forward thinker. She'd be going, "Oh God, what's going to happen now? Like, is this man mentally unwell? That something has happened before now, and maybe he's going to crash the bus, and they'll be all killed." And
as I said, this is the first anyone has heard of this incident at 1:45 today. But Dublin Bus Éireann, they just say they're apologetic, obviously. I'll read out what he said. Bus Éireann is fully investigating the incident on the service yesterday, Tuesday, 16th of November 2021. We very much regret the inconvenience and negative experience reported by this passenger. Hang on, there's more than one passenger now at this stage. And it's more than a negative experience, and it's more than inconvenience now, in fairness. So we've now put the following question to Bus Éireann, given that they didn't release any information about this incident until we contacted them. Can I ask, this is from Rebecca Mean, our series producer, can I ask what form the investigation would take? Is it an internal investigation? Are the Gardaí involved at this stage? And is Bus Éireann obliged to report this incident to the Health and Safety Authority? This journey from hell, as you describe it. Now, I think, in fairness, Wendy and Adam as well, both of your daughter and Adam were trying to help the bus driver. Nobody was accusing him of anything.
Oh no!
Because any of us, first of all, Adam said, "You're there, Adam." Still, Adam said you've made a mistake, and which can happen to any of us. It can happen to bus drivers as well in a busy, stressful job. And you were trying to be helpful, but it just seemed to get worse and worse and worse. And then the bizarre thing, Adam, the number you rang to look for help while you were on the bus, what was that characterised? Is that a customer service number or?
Well, I googled the emergency number.
Okay.
And that's the one that came up.
All right.
Yeah, the 1850 number. That's the one I rang.
Yeah.
And you didn't get anywhere with that, Wendy?
No. And then I rang Bus Éireann, and then I rang the garage in Phibsborough thinking I could get somebody. And then I ended up ringing a friend of mine who's a Dublin bus driver.
And he or she said, ring 999.
Yeah. And you need to report that in case every passenger on the bus dies.
And Adam, how did it finish? You all got off the bus and...
Yeah,
How was he? How was he when you got off the bus, the driver?
He appeared a bit stumbly as he went back to his bus, and then he just got on his bus and he drove.
Oh, he took off again?
Yeah.
And was his wing mirror broke?
Yeah, he picked the wing mirror off the ground belonging to the other bus and put it beside the bus driver.
And what about his own wing mirror?
I don't know.
Okay. Stay there if
no,
you can.
That wasn't broken.
Okay,
no.
well spotted, Wendy. Did anyone take any photographs, Wendy? Do you know?
No, I asked my daughter. She said
she was terrified.
She was terrified. She was
as she said, the journey from hell. Derek was a manager of a haulage company in Dublin. Derek, we all know the stresses of driving in Dublin. Go ahead, Derek.
How you doing, Joe? Good afternoon. No, Joe, unfortunately I've missed the last 10 minutes because I've been trying to get through at the end of the radio turned off. But tell me that I missed a bit that the busman opened his little hatch and fell out of the bus with a bottle of vodka in his hand.
No, he didn't.
He didn't know.
Yeah,
so what was the opening line from yourself saying the horror story that unfolded in Dublin yesterday? The man came out in his bus, he made a mistake. He made a mistake, Joe, right? That's it. Made a mistake, and he's done what every human being does after making a mistake.
Hang on, Derek. Now, hold on to your bottle of vodka jibe now for a sec.
Right, okay. Right, the horror story.
Hold on to it, right? Just hold on to that. No one mentioned alcohol. Nobody mentioned alcohol.
Somebody made comments about he was drunk and laughed.
No, they didn't. Well, that was Adam was reporting. Someone said it down the back.
Yeah, so it was said.
Hang on, it wasn't just one mistake, Derek.
Yeah, okay. Well, if I
a series of
from
mistakes.
My point of view, Joe,
you're in charge of 40, 50, could be 70 people on a bus.
And was anybody hurt, Joe?
Adam or Wendy, was anyone hurt?
No.
No, not that I know of, no.
So, okay.
Hang on a sec. Can I say something there?
Yeah.
All those things that I said that happened on the bus yesterday, them one at a time is a mistake. You put them all together, there's something wrong with that driver.
And what do you think it was?
You have no idea.
Okay, right. Did you ever make a mistake driving? I don't know if you drive personally. I'm the manager of a haulage company, and I deal with trucks, crashes, broken mirrors every day. If you make a mistake in any part of general life, you normally follow up with another one. It's a nervous situation. I'm not doing the wrong thing. What will I do now? You're not in your right mind. He tried, in my mind, I'm trying to visualise it, he tried in my mind to pull up close to his colleague, to get him, to give him the information and put him back on track. And in doing so, to leave enough room for cars to go by, he clipped his mirror.
At this stage, he knew where he was going.
Sorry, excuse me, if you just let me finish. Do you know the size of a mirror? It's similar to a truck mirror. They're about 24 inches by 6, and then they come out on a bracket which puts a mirror almost 2 foot away from the vehicle, if not more. Now, he clipped the mirror. Nobody was hurt. In my mind, he was stopping to get somebody to put him back on the right road. He was in a well-known road in Dublin city centre. There's crashes in well-known roads in Dublin.
No, but you see,
but the point I'm saying is that you're saying he pulled in to find out where he was.
And did he?
If he does not know that street, well, then there's something wrong.
Yeah, he made a mistake.
No,
I visited that man in an office now a month before Christmas being fired because of the phone calls that being made. And the man made a mistake. Nobody was hurt. Nobody died.
And
There's been horrific situations.
Derek, you only think there's no validity in it because no one was killed, or injured?
No. I just don't see what the horror story involved is. He took a wrong turn. He got nervous. He clipped the mirror. People got off the bus. Everybody was safe. He made a mistake, Joe. He's probably sitting in front of the manager and getting fired.
There's no one getting fired as far as you know or I know. Okay?
That's right. We don't know.
We're talking about safety here on public transport.
Yeah.
Okay.
But nobody's infallible, Joe. We're all capable of making mistakes.
I know that I make mistakes. You make mistakes.
The roundabout situation, Joe. The man probably went to the first roundabout. Now, I don't know exactly where we're talking. But in my mind, he went to the first roundabout and realised people that drive cars don't understand. You need so much room to swing a bus
I know that.
And he went through it and purposely went to the second one, knowing it was a safer turn.
And I know, the other thing I know, Derek.
Yeah.
I know the other thing I know, and you might find this hard to hear as well, and I hope I can deliver it with the sensitivity that it deserves.
Yeah.
Trucks kill people. Yeah. Trucks can kill people.
Right, yeah.
They are massive. I've yet to hear of a cyclist, God forgive, hitting a truck and the truck driver being killed. Yeah. Thank God. They are big machines, and they should be driven safely, and especially if you're carrying people.
That's right, yeah. Well, a truck full of timber can kill hundreds of people. Yeah,
should we have allowed Grace on to talk about that? Because no one was killed, as you say yourself, and the driver didn't stumble out of the truck with a bottle of vodka in his hand.
That's right.
Give us a break. Give us a break. Is that you're running a haulage company?
Yeah.
Is that your attitude to people who complain about?
No, it's not my attitude. But the first thing I'd ask a driver, if there's an incident or an accident, is anybody hurt? Are you hurt? Is anybody hurt? That's the first concern I have,
But you know the other concern? A truck never comes off second best when it comes to a motorist or a cyclist or a motorcyclist.
That's right.
Okay, so and you have to be cognizant
to drive them because they won't make mistakes.
No, so what you say? You should employ androids to drive them.
Yeah, but that's talking about that in a few years, isn't it? It's okay for a guy to run over a cyclist in a small family car.
But
by God, don't do it in a bus. They're drivers. They're human beings. They'll make mistakes.
Yeah, but
the guy made a mistake. You make a mistake. They'll make another one twice as quick.
How many mistakes did he make?
2, as far as I'm concerned.
I counted 4. Adam.
Well, okay, how do you take a wrong turn and correct it without making another mistake, Joe? What should they do? Get out of the bus, put the handbrake on and say, good night, I'm going home. He had to correct himself. So by doing U-turns and things, what else would he have done? left the bus in the middle of the road and said, I made a mistake. This bus is staying here for the rest of its life.
You know how you are obliged if you have a massive vehicle like a bus or a truck. If you come, you miss your address or whatever, and you go 400 or 500 yards up the street, you don't
Which would be normal,
you don't try and do a U-turn in the middle of a street. It's illegal for a start. You take a left, and a left to get back around again.
Yeah.
Or a right, a right, and a right.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Derek.
It's not every day you can do that in Dublin, Joe.
Well,
you could end up in Ballsbridge or before you get it. And we're talking about
if you know something, Derek, I'd rather end up in Ballsbridge than in Glasnevin.
Yeah, well, nobody ended up in Glasnevin, Joe. The man made a mistake.
My point is,
emergency lines rang within seconds. How quick people are. Why didn't somebody get up and say, listen, I'll get out, I'll reverse you. The other passenger, I'll stop the traffic on the road. We'll get you back. Don't be worrying. You're a new driver. You're probably not from this country.
Adam, well, hang on. Well, you're jumping all over the place now, Derek. Adam, by the way, I wouldn't do it because I wouldn't have the skill to reverse, to direct the bus.
Yeah, but that's why they have a licence to do it, Joe.
Yeah, but that's why they're told. They're told one of the most serious things you can do in a vehicle of that side is reverse, as you know, because especially if you don't have a co-worker with you,
which people don't anymore.
I know, which is terrible. I understand that. I see truck drivers. I see fellas driving those massive behemoths, the refuse trucks, and they're on their own. I think that's a disgrace. They should have someone with them.
I agree with you, Joe.
Okay. But Adam, could you have got off the bus and said, "I'd help you redirect"?
No, it didn't even enter my mind to do that. And I didn't say that him taking the wrong turn was actually, a huge mistake. It wasn't. Him going at the roundabout wasn't a huge mistake either. Breaking red lights, plunging the bus into darkness.
I totally agree.
For 1 minute, you said he broke a light, and then you said he nearly broke a red light. You said he drove up on the roundabout. Joe repeated, and then he said, "Well, no, he didn't go up on it. He went around it twice." That's what I heard. No, I'm going crazy.
Yeah, I did, and I corrected Joe by saying that he didn't go over the roundabout.
Yeah, and Joe repeated himself and said he went over the roundabout. It's
Yeah,
I don't know. It was a simple incident. A man made a mistake. He tried to correct it. And like most human beings, if you make a mistake, especially with the responsibility of all the people on the bus, you tend to make another mistake to rectify things. And I think that's all the guy was trying to do. Now, instead of reaching for the phones and Googling numbers and why didn't you try help him? We'll stop the car. You reverse the bus. I'll tell you which way to go to get you back onto the right road. Why was it all straight to the emergency line? And
it wasn't straight to the emergency line.
It wasn't a horror story, Joe. That's the way you introduced the start of your show.
It was a run-up. It was a horror story. We can debate this. We can debate this from here to Christmas. Whether you think there is a lot. I'm sorry. Okay, and Alan Mooney is a truck driver. Go ahead, Alan.
Hey, Joe. Listen, I am fuming to hear to that so-called transport fellow there.
Well, he is. He is. In fairness, he is.
Well, he's not much of a transport manager.
Why do you disagree with him?
Because a transport manager should investigate. If something happens, it has to be investigated. And he's just saying, no, it's a mistake. It's not just a mistake. Once make a wrong turn, we've all done it. Every day of the week, people are doing it.
Of course.
But if you do 3 or 4 of these in a one session, there's something radically wrong. And as regards the truck on the M7, he probably forgot to put the timbers back into the trailer.
Which can happen.
That's an accident. Yeah. That can happen. It can happen to any of us. But the transport manager to say if that's the worst thing that's happened today, that man needs to get a different job because he's not doing the right job there. That has to be investigated. That could have caused a serious accident.
But Derek's point is an opening argument. I misunderstood it. He was being irony, I suppose we call it, about the bottle of vodka. He missed the first 10 minutes about the driver falling off the bus with a bottle of vodka, which of course didn't happen. But he was making a different point. But Derek was saying he made a mistake and then he compounded with another mistake.
Yeah, but that's okay. But then when you've done 2 more, like going through a second round and then going through a red light, there's something wrong. There's definitely something wrong there. The man could have been dehydrated. It could be anything. It could be something very, very simple.
In fairness, well, what do you think? The other point that Derek made to Adam was, Adam, why didn't you offer to get off the bus and help the driver reverse?
He said he was okay.
he's probably not qualified to reverse the bus.
Yeah, but it's, okay. Well, that's what Derek thinks he should have done. Wendy,
No, it's not everybody is qualified. You cannot just stand behind someone and reverse
I know
them.
that. Sorry, that was my point earlier. Take that point, Alan. You're taking your life in your hands.
Yeah, exactly. And then if something happens, you're responsible because you're the one that was reversing the bus. Yeah. You were calling them back. The driver makes a mistake.
I know I know it's an awfully stressful job. I really do. I don't know how you do it, especially in cities or whatever. And it's a tough job, and it's a long job. Wendy, just to remind Derek, your daughter did try and help this driver.
Yeah, because she wasn't sure whether he was unwell or not. So she didn't assume anything before going down and asking him, was he okay? When he said, yeah, I'm okay, and she said, are you sure you're not unwell? I don't know whether he knew the route. I don't know whether he does that same route every single day or not. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe it was a last minute that somebody changed him onto another bus or another shift or whatever, and he really didn't know where he was going. That's what she thought. She said this man didn't seem to know where he was going, and that she went down because she was meeting her friends and she didn't want to be late. And of course, him taking first of all the wrong road and then having to turn back, and then he didn't know how to get onto this main road to take him where they eventually ended up. That's what it was.
Derek also took exception to me calling it a horror story, but at one stage did you not say to me your daughter was worried about her safety, her life?
Yes, because every young person, of course, some people are more anxious than others. Yeah. You know, they're anxious, and when somebody is not driving the bus as they kind of normally would every time she would be on a bus, well, of course it's going to stand out as, is that man okay?
Yeah, of course, okay.
And then when the lights going on and off the buses, like that was a bit of a red flag when she said he's switching on and off the bus lights and won't put them back on, and then eventually did put them back on.
And did your daughter, Wendy, when you say he is switching off the lights, could it have been a technical problem on the bus?
I don't know now, and I wouldn't be able to say anything. I wouldn't be able to say yes or no, or I would be, you know.
Well, we're glad that everyone is okay. That's above all. We hope the driver is okay.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think what Adam and Wendy did was admirable. Also in contacting us, because Dublin Bus, our bus Éireann, didn't tell anyone about the incident until we contacted them today, and we're waiting on whether the Gardaí are going to be involved or were they informed or what's the whole thing about health and safety. But anyway, we leave that. Wendy, Adam, Derek, Alan, thanks indeed. Joe at RT.ie.
Talk to Joe on 1850 715 815. Talk to Joe on 1850 715 815.
And Joe at RT.ie. Chris, good afternoon.
Hi Joe, how are you?
Tell us, we've covered mother and baby homes going back over 25 years now on Liveline, and every time something is addressed, there always seems to be a recoil. There always seems to be a flaw. Chris, yesterday a redress scheme was announced. They say it will affect thousands of women and indeed their children, but anyone who spent less than 4 months in a mother and baby home can forget about applying for any help.
That's right, Joe. I think it's 6 months, Joe.
6 months. Sorry, 6 months.
Anyone who was in one of the homes for under 6 months. Yeah. So I have 2 siblings who were also adopted, and all 3 of us were adopted before we were 6 months of age. I think that the mother and baby homes report was a whitewash, and now we're being swept under a carpet. Those of us who were in homes for less than 6 months, it takes no account whatsoever of the circumstances of what happened in those 6 months. In my case, my birth parents were married when I was born, and I was placed in St. Pat's by my birth mother, who signed an affidavit, as I understand it, saying she didn't know who my birth father was when in fact she was married to him. They went on to have a full family of children. So they have 6. So I have 6 siblings who have no idea I exist. I met my birth father a number of years ago, and for various reasons, he decided that they wouldn't continue a relationship with me. I sent Christmas cards, letters, and got no response. But the crux of the point here is that there are people, many people across Ireland who have stories like mine, who were adopted before the age of 6 months. And yesterday makes it look like everything was fine, when in fact we have had a lifetime of questions, of trauma, of in many cases people living with addiction issues. The government's own website says that the scheme will be holistic and non-adversarial. How can that be non-adversarial, to exclude, to discriminate against a huge number of people? And I understand there's an economic cost. Most of us are looking for counselling. Most of us are looking for therapeutic help. I just feel as if yesterday we were treated disgustingly. I'm insulted. I have been a second-class citizen all my life in this country, and now I feel like I've been made a third-class citizen. I feel yesterday just said whatever happened to all of us, and each of my siblings has got a horror story to tell. But what happens to us, according to Roderick and his team, doesn't matter. And may I point out, Joe, if you don't mind, I'm not trying to soapbox here, but yesterday Roderick O'Gorman said that he recognises that many of us will be disappointed, but that we'd indicated to him that the priority for us was access to birth certs and for our information, and that is true. But he conveniently overlooked the fact that the Oak report, the Oak consultation, which happened after the Mother and Baby Homes report, and to which I contributed, made it very clear in its findings that the vast majority of those who participated in the consultation said that the scheme should be open to everybody, irrespective of the amount of time they were in one of the homes. So what has happened, and note, by the way, that yesterday there was no mention of the Oak consultation in any of the speech from the Minister. There was no reference to it whatsoever or its findings. So I feel that it's great to know the public are behind us, and I believe the public are behind all of us who are affected by this.
I know the Minister has tried to clarify this somewhat, but he's quoted in the paper saying yesterday, well, if you were under 6 months, you won't remember any. Now, this is argued as well by people like the late Michael Rutter, the father of child psychology, if you could call it such a thing. But the argument is, if you're under 6 months, you wouldn't remember it. That was the argument, as far as I can see they're putting forward. What do you think of that argument?
Well, I believe he's backtracked on that today and apologised for using that poor term of phrase. But actually, that actually tells us an awful lot about the thinking in government departments. That actually is so indicative of what they're thinking about us. The fact that they think that 6 months, that at 6 months, that's the cut-off point. I'm nearly 50 years of age, and every single day I live with the impact of being adopted. So for me, it points towards a lack of real understanding. And I say, Joe, I'm perhaps going to be a little controversial here, but I do wonder whether it might have been more appropriate for somebody who'd been alive at the time when the Mother and Baby Homes were up and running at full throttle, so to speak, rather than somebody who isn't even 40 yet. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. It's a societal problem, and that many of us, you're of an age where you probably will remember those kids who went to the other schools, those kids who had come from other backgrounds.
I remember St. Patrick's on the Navan Road. I remember the building.
Yeah,
when I was
children in there.
Well, when I was training to be a social worker in Trinity, some of my class, not me, went on placements to St. Pat's on the Navan Road to learn and to contribute as well. And I'm sure that knowing them, they made a fantastic contribution in terms of helping. But they were still you're right, they were still in existence up to relatively recently. And your point is that and I'm sorry, I shouldn't be saying things like this. It sounds patronising. The point you're making, Chris, is, just to reiterate for anyone who's just turned on, is that the cut-off, the government are saying that anyone 6 months who spent who left the Mother and Baby Home before they reached 6 months of age would not have any long-term effects. And you're saying, I'm summarising now, you're saying, hang on a minute, because of the fact that we were in a Mother and Baby Home and were adopted and didn't know or had difficulty either tracking down, because we know the whole issue of documentation, and a lot of documentation faked in various places or destroyed, because we did have difficulties because of where we came from and the background. Exactly. And that's let me bring in Patrick Anderson McQuaid. Patrick, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Joe.
You're disappointed as well. Why?
Basically, I agree with the previous speaker,
Chris. Yeah.
It came as a complete shock, actually, to me, to know that anybody who hadn't been in a home longer than 6 months was outside the remit of what he was talking about. And you mentioned earlier about the effect, and I mentioned this in a letter, the importance of what happens to you when you're a child.
Yeah.
And my first memory was when I was 1 year old. And I can remember being in the homes, but the Bethany home, along with the Church of Ireland and the Irish Church Missions, but especially the Bethany home, had a duty of care to look after me.
Yeah.
And instead of that, they sent me to a nurse mother in Tipperary, resulting in me being removed from her and finding out that I had rickets and I had a bad heart and I couldn't walk and I wouldn't talk to other children and I was a mimic. So
But just to be clear, the government are saying because the nun sent you to this home, which was abusive by the sound of it at least, before you reached the age of 6 months, they've no responsibility.
But the people who inspected the homes at that time had responsibility to control what the homes were doing. And the homes weren't doing any follow-up on what was happening to the children who were boarded out to the so-called nurse mothers.
Yeah.
So I was just set free to be cared by anybody who was paid money to look after me. And it still comes down to a duty of care that the Bethany home had for me, which they didn't follow on.
But the fact that the Bethany home got rid of you before you were 6 months old completely takes you out of this redress scheme.
Yeah, according to the minister and the civil servants and the government. So the government's just putting in more trauma on top of...
So the knock-on effect of you being born where you were and the way you were treated and the way you were fostered out, and likewise with Chris, the knock-on effect is irrelevant in terms of all the issues that Chris has documented, and Patrick as well, and people have before in this programme, of upset, of loss, of privation, of deprivation, of addiction, of mental issues, of trying to contact your family. All those issues are irrelevant because you were let go out of the mother and baby home. Let go, what is too soft a word for it. You were moved on from the mother and baby home, without your mother, by the way, or your parents, before you were 6 months of age. That's the stark reality as decided by the government. Maggie Ling, I'll come back to Patrick and Chris in a sec. Maggie Ling, good afternoon.
Hi, Joe, how are you?
You contacted us. What do you think of this redress scheme?
I think it's completely insulting. I think it shows the minister has complete and utter disregard for us and no understanding of the
Now, remember,
issues.
in fairness, I'm not... And I know you don't, but I'm not mad about focusing on one individual because it is a government decision. He would have had to, as he said, he brought this to Cabinet and Cabinet approved.
Yeah, 100%. But the fact that he said that we wouldn't remember our experiences, anything pre 6 months old, it's reprehensible. He's meant to be my representative minister. He's actually a reprehensible minister. Well, I can't understand how he could say something. I know he's apologised since then, but it does show what his actual attitude is for this very vulnerable cohort of people. We're a vulnerable, marginalised minority group. We're less than 2% of the population here in Ireland, Joe. And for him to say that as our representative minister, I mean, it shows complete disregard for what we've gone through. Whether we remember it or not, it's pre-verbal, and it means that he's not even taking into account that we don't remember the home itself, but we remember not having our birth certificates all our lives. We remember not having our identities. We remember not having any biological family members. We remember not having any medical information or background information, ancestry information, early life information. Yeah. He's just disregarded that whole part of being an adopted person. And I, for one, am completely insulted. And yesterday was a very difficult day for me. Very difficult. And it continues to be difficult because nobody in government seems to want to make it any easier. It's obvious.
You were in Temple Hill, Maggie.
I was in Temple Hill,
which is another anomaly, isn't it? That's a mystery.
It is, because
it's here in Blackrock in Dublin, isn't it? I don't know what's there now. It's a mysterious. Was it even included in the?
No, it wasn't included in the Commission of Investigation. So it wasn't.
Why not?
Exactly. Why not? It's inexplicable. It's arbitrary. For the largest adoption agency, St Patrick's Guild, to not be included in the Commission of Investigations. It's just incomprehensible. And then when the report finally came out and our Taoiseach and our representative minister stood up and apologised, they basically, I took it word for word, verbatim, down, and none of them made any reference to anybody outside the Commission of Investigations terms of reference. So they basically only apologised to the people who were included in the Commission of Investigation. So I was excluded again. And now we're excluded again.
But are they saying... Sorry, not individual, but are they saying that Temple Hill didn't exist? Like,
I'd love to know.
It was a mother and baby home. There's archival material, as far as I know. Now there's also allegations that dates and where children were adopted to were faked in Temple Hill. But there is documentation of them writing to the Archbishop of Dublin saying, include us, we're taking more and more young women that from Catholic backgrounds. I'm quoting now out of memory, Catholic backgrounds who, didn't they say at one stage, a lot of them are young servant women from the country who were have become pregnant by their employer. So there was a fair amount of documentation about Temple Hill, but what are they saying? Nobody remembers it, or
they just didn't see fit to include it in the Commission of Investigation. And my theory on that would be that because it was the largest adoption agency in the country under St Patrick's Guild, they just didn't want to have to deal. Well, to be honest, the Commission of Investigation was set up in order to take the 18 institutions that they did look into as a poll as such, and then give out their findings in the final report on those particular institutions, but they were only a small part of what they knew was a larger amount of institutions. I mean, they only looked at 18, but we believe there was 180, 182, something like that. So it's a fraction of the amount of institutions that were in the country.
And now you were in an institution that wasn't included to begin with, and even if it was, you're now in an age group that isn't included. Because you were shifted.
I was 4 or 6 months old. I mean, what a lot of the adopter families, so the adoptive parents would have wanted was what we call womb wet babies. They wanted as newborn as possible. So we were pre 6 months old.
Yeah, but how is 6?
I don't know.
You don't have to study psychology, psychiatry, or social work to know this. How is 6 months a measure of whether someone was abused or not?
And I'd just like to say the thing that gets me is that there is no time limit on trauma.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we were in there, we were there. I wasn't particularly born in my particular home because it was Temple Hill. That's where we were sent. I was born in the National Maternity Hospital and then put in Temple Hill. So I wasn't actually born in an institution. I was put there and I stayed there until I was a month old. So I don't know what happened to me, but I know that GlaxoSmithKline were very much involved in the vaccine drug and infant formula trials.
But just in fairness to the Minister, Roderick O'Gorman, he was asked yesterday why children of 6 months less have been left out of the scheme, and he said, "I suppose children who were in there less than 6 months wouldn't have been aware of their experiences and would have been too younger to remember their experiences." But asked on Morning Ireland, Mr. O'Gorman, the minister, said, "If I said that in the press conference yesterday," well, I think you did say, because every newspaper goes, well, that's neither here nor there. "If I said that in the press conference, that's a very inartful way of me to describe the experiences, and I apologise for that. We've used the criteria of time as a guide towards the degree of exposure that women and children have had to the very harsh institutional conditions in the mother and baby and county institutions." So you're right. He's saying time is a measurement of trauma.
Yeah,
not experience, and not the experience afterwards. Yes, Chris.
Almost 50 years is time. You know, when they're looking at 6 months, it doesn't matter if you were given away. It doesn't matter if you were stolen, if you were sold, if you were illegally adopted. It doesn't, in the sense of what the criteria are. The fact is that you were in one of these homes, and this arbitrary figure that just seems to point to what could have happened in a very narrow window. What if you were there 6 months in a week? Does that mean you do count? And if the arbitrary figure that they're using, rather than recognising the impact that this has had on a whole generation of people. As your other caller mentioned, 2% of the population are living with this still. It's not back in the 70s and the 60s and 50s for many of us.
And even on a side note, how can you even trust the dates that have been given about the age you were when you were given up, so to speak, or left? Because there were so many incidents. Okay, stay with us. Joe at RT.ie.
Talk to Joe on 1850 715 815. Talk to Joe on 1850 715 815.
I'm Joe at RT.ie. We're talking to people who contacted us who were in mother and baby homes, but the 4 people who are on at the minute, and they're representative of other people who contacted us, they were fostered out, adopted or whatever from the mother and baby homes before they were 6 months of age, which means they're excluded from the redress scheme, which was announced yesterday. The redress scheme is based on time rather than trauma. Now, you can argue that trauma is very, very hard to measure, and every case is different. But let people have their say, because they feel, as you heard, people haven't had their say. Gemma, you say, which I think Maggie said already, I feel like a second-class citizen. Chris said it all over again. What's your situation?
I was born in 1975. My birth mother worked for the nuns in a big nunnery in Cork. Okay. She was then transferred to Kilkenny, where she gave birth to me. Okay. I was then removed from Kilkenny and sent to Temple Hill, and I was adopted through St. Patrick's Guild. It's like the government are trying to divide and conquer. It's like, well, you can't remember, so you don't matter. As adopted people, we live with that every day. Now I get on with my life. I've had a lot of stuff thrown at me. We've had a rough 6 months. I found out that, I'm BRCA1, so therefore I had to have a full hysterectomy, a double mastectomy, and no medical records, no nothing. Yeah. I have my tuskal file, most of it's redacted. We deserve to be treated as human beings. We're not treated like human beings. I've no interest in money from the government, but I would like a file handed to me that doesn't have most of it blacked out. Here. It's beyond disgusting. I wanted a birth certificate, my adopted birth certificate, and to get my PPS card. They insisted that adopted be plastered across the top of it. Why am I any different to anybody else? Whose business is it?
Sorry, say that again, Gemma.
Yeah. To get my PPS card. Yeah. Because as adopted people, we're not on the same adoption or the same birth certificate place that you would be, for example, right? So say myself and Maggie are on the adoptive birth certificate Information Bureau, you're on a different one. So when we go to get our birth certificate, our Maria birth certificate, it's number one, we pay more than everybody else does, and number two, when we get it, it has adopted plastered across the top of it. Okay. So I couldn't get my PPS card because they couldn't find me on the normal system, and it took me a year, 18 months to get it, just because. And I was arguing the fact, why I have a driver's license, I have a passport. Why does my birth certificate have to say adopted on it? Why?
Yeah.
Well, it is beyond reprehensible what the government are trying to do. They're trying to.
But the other thing they're saying is that those under 6 months have no objective memory.
But sure, I've lived with being adopted all my life.
Exactly it. And it's about, and if you've no object, that's one of the reasons why psychoanalysis, isn't it? That people have stuff from their early childhood which they, in terms of their in development, physical and social supports, background, parents, things that do make a difference between 0 and 6 months. Stay with us, Joe at RT.ie.
Talk to Joe on 1850 715 815. Talk to Joe on 1850 715
Today's programme
815.
began with two stories, again, coincidentally, from two different parts of the country. One was about a wooden plank coming off a truck that was travelling on one of our motorways, and just the driver behind who contacted us, Grace was her name, she just barely missed. But she did ring the company and she wasn't happy with the response she got from the haulage company. And it was something like, if the haulage person said to them, well, if that's the worst thing I hear about today, well, then it'll be a good day. I know. And then we had this incredible story described by one listener as the journey from hell. I described it at one stage. It sounded to me like a horror story, which one haulage manager took exception to. It was a bus errand bus, double-decker, coming into Dublin yesterday, took a wrong turn, was assisted by our passenger who contacted us, then took another wrong turn, then did a 3-point turn on a busy road, then went through a red light, and then crashed into another bus on a wide street, not a narrow street, on a wide street, and took the wing mirror off. And then we had a second caller whose daughter was on the bus, who was frightened out of her wits, to say the least. Now, Derek, good afternoon. Dash cams, and what happened to you?
Hello, Joe. I was on the M1 heading northbound approximately 2-3 months ago, and I was overtaking a tow truck that was towing an old double-decker bus. Mm-hmm. And a piece of steel flew from the bus, and it smashed into the bonnet and the windscreen and the side pillar of my car. Okay. And the windscreen was broken, so I got a real fright immediately.
Of course,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, so I managed to get in front of the vehicle, and I got them to follow me up to the service station. And I rang the police. The guards arrived, and at the heel of the hunt, the guy is denying all responsibility. He said it didn't happen, and I didn't have a dash cam. You know, and and the reason I didn't have a dash cam is because I recently got the car. It wasn't that old.
Okay, did the driver pull in?
He pulled in, but when I managed to get in front of him, he actually pulled in because I beckoned to him.
Okay, and did you? Were you recompensed for the damage to your car?
No, I wasn't. No, €3,800.
And why not?
Because it's a dispute. He's saying it never happened, and the insurance company. I've had the assessor out. He examined the vehicle. He said a blind man can see what happened because of the way the impact. It's all up the front of the bonnet into the windscreen on the side pillar.
So what's happening now?
Nothing. As far as I know, the company concerned have gone out of business. They've ceased trading, and the insurance company are waiting on a witness that doesn't exist. Because every time I get in contact with them, we're still waiting to interview a witness.
Okay, and were there witnesses?
Nobody. Okay. It was on the M1 heading
and
north.
Your point is these dash cams, which you can buy in Lidl and Aldi now of a Thursday, are worth getting.
Absolutely, yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Thanks, Derek, and safe driving. Glad to hear you're safe and sound, but you're out of pocket of a lot of money. Okay, back tomorrow at 1:45. Annette Egan produced, and Ray Darcy's next.
Liveline on RTE Radio 1 with Kia. Going electric? Plug into the Kia E-range of EVs and PHEVs.
Kia, movement that inspires.
1850 715 815. Stays open until 3:15 p.m. or email joe@rte.ie.